At 6 a.m., my phone buzzed against the granite kitchen counter. It was a text from my daughter. Chloe, change of plans. You aren't coming on the cruise. My mother-in-law just wants it to be her family. This Alaskan cruise was a trip I had been planning for 3 solid years. I had patiently scraped together the money from my pension and my late husband's life insurance to take my daughter and her husband, Weston, to see the glaciers. I didn't cry. At 65, I've learned that tears are a waste of good hydration when you're dealing with blatant disrespect. I read the text twice. Chloe wasn't apologizing. She was casually informing me that my own financial investment was being hijacked to appease Weston's mother, Brenda, a woman who had spent years looking down her nose at me. I brewed a cup of black coffee, sat down at the wooden table by the window, and booted up my laptop. Instead of being clouded by heartbreak, my mind felt as ice-cold and crystal clear as the glaciers I supposedly wasn't going to see. I logged into the cruise line's portal. Username. Password. There was the reservation. Chloe had logged in the night before and swapped the passenger names, replacing mine with Brenda's. But my daughter forgot one crucial detail: the credit card linked to the master account, the one paying for the port taxes, the daily gratuities, and the premium drink packages was in my name. With a few calm, deliberate clicks, I didn't just remove my card from the system, I completely canceled the 3 extra tickets. I requested a full refund back to my checking account and rebooked my own single ticket for a later date. The ship was scheduled to set sail from Seattle in 3 days. But Chloe had no idea her luxurious family vacation had just vanished into thin air. The morning sun was already warming the backyard patio when my phone rang again. It was 9 a.m. It was Chloe, using that artificially sweet, high-pitched voice she always adopted when she knew she was in the wrong but wanted to manipulate the situation. "Hey, Mom, I hope you saw my text." She rushed out, trying to beat me to the punch. "Don't be mad. It's honestly for your own good. You've been getting tired so easily lately, and the sea air really messes with your arthritis. Brenda said it would just be way too exhausting for you. We'll send you tons of pictures. I promise." I kept my voice completely deadpan. "I understand." I replied simply. Chloe sighed, audibly relieved by my lack of pushback. "Oh, I'm so glad you get it. Hey, Weston and I are going to swing by this afternoon. We need to grab that hard-shell luggage set you bought last month for the trip. Oh, and we're dropping Cooper off for you to watch for the 10 days. I know how much you love having the dog around. I won't be available to dog sit. Chloe, you'll need to find a boarding kennel," I said, casually brushing a breadcrumb off the table. "What? But Mom, you always watch him? We don't have the budget for a kennel right now." "That's a shame. You have 3 days to figure it out. Goodbye, Chloe." I hung up and flipped my phone to silent. I walked down the hall to the guest room where I kept the expensive, brand new luggage I had bought with such excitement. If my daughter wanted to go on an exclusive vacation with her in-laws, she was going to do it packing her stuff into her beat-up old duffel bags. I locked the closet door. Chloe and Weston lived in the mother-in-law suite above my garage. It was an independent apartment accessed by an exterior staircase in my backyard. But we shared the main driveway gate and the laundry room on the ground floor. They had been living there rent-free for 3 years, dodging what would easily be $1,800 a month in our neighborhood, always using the excuse that they were saving up for a down payment. After locking up my luggage, I grabbed my purse and walked 3 blocks to the local hardware store. I bought a heavy-duty, forged steel padlock and a brand new deadbolt for the back door that connected the yard to my main house. I took my time walking back. I unscrewed the old lock on my back door and installed the new one. Then, I headed to the laundry room. Chloe had a habit of dumping her dirty laundry in there, fully expecting me to wash it with mine. I gathered every single piece of their clothing, including Weston's expensive winter coats, and shoved them into black, heavy-duty trash bags. I dragged the bags up the exterior stairs and dumped them right in front of their apartment door. Starting today, the limits of my generosity were going to be physical and tangible. I snapped the heavy new padlock onto the main driveway gate, making absolutely sure I was the only person on Earth with the key. At 4 o'clock, I heard Weston's truck engine cut off in the driveway, followed by the metallic rattling of his house key uselessly scraping against the new gate lock. Through the kitchen window, I watched Weston rattling the iron gate. Chloe stood next to him, arms crossed and visibly annoyed. Brenda was there too, adjusting her fake pearl necklace. Apparently, she had tagged along to collect my luggage and do a little pre-trip champagne toast on my patio. I walked outside calmly, the new keys jingling in my apron pocket. I stopped a few feet from the gate, making zero effort to unlock it. "Mom, what is wrong with the gate?" "My key isn't working," Chloe complained, pressing her face against the iron bars. Brenda glared at me with her usual disdain. "I changed the padlock." "Chloe," I answered, my voice steady. "And the lock's on the main house." "Why would you do that? Open up." "Brenda came to see the suitcases you're letting us borrow," my daughter demanded. "I'm not lending out my luggage. I bought it for my Alaskan cruise. Since you informed me at 6 a.m. that I'm not going, the suitcases stay with me. I'm also not taking visitors today." Weston stepped forward, raising his voice. "Joanne, this is ridiculous. We have stuff in the laundry room and we need to get into the apartment. Your laundry is in garbage bags outside your front door," I told Weston, meeting his angry stare without blinking. "As for the apartment, you can go in." I unclipped a single spare key for the gate and passed it through the bars. Chloe took it, her mouth hanging open, entirely speechless. I turned my back, walked into my house, and locked my new deadbolt. That night, they would learn that my silence wasn't submission. It was a concrete wall I had just finished building between us. The next morning, I was outside watering my potted geraniums when Chloe came storming down the stairs. She was clutching her phone, practically vibrating with rage. She marched up to my back door and tried to yank it open. But of course, it was locked tight. She banged on the glass with her knuckles. I cracked the window just a couple of inches. "You canceled the credit card," she screamed, skipping right over a morning greeting. "Weston tried to pay for our shuttle to the port for tomorrow, and the card was declined. You embarrassed us in front of Brenda." I kept the hose steady, slowly watering the corner planter. "That card is linked to my checking account. Chloe. It was strictly for emergencies during our family trip. Since I'm no longer part of that trip, I canceled it." "But it's our trip. You can't just cut off our money the day before we leave," she yelled, smacking the windowsill. "It's Brenda's trip with you guys. I'm sure Brenda has the funds to cover her own family's expenses. You are adults with full-time jobs. You shouldn't be relying on the pension of an elderly woman you consider a burden," I replied. "Mom, you need to reactivate that card right now," she ordered, using that entitled tone I had tolerated for far too long. I didn't say a word. I simply slid the glass window shut and flipped the latch. On the other side of the glass, Chloe was still gesturing and shouting, but the noise was completely muffled. I walked into the kitchen to make myself some breakfast. They were so hyper-focused on regaining access to my credit card that they completely forgot to check their email for a much more important detail. The day of the cruise dawned bright and clear. From early morning, I could hear heavy, rushed footsteps upstairs. Chloe and Weston came down dragging their ratty old canvas bags across the concrete. Brenda was waiting for them out front in an Uber. They didn't even glance toward my window as they left, clearly believing they were punishing me with their silent treatment. I made myself some scrambled eggs and sat down to soak in the absolute quiet of my house. No heavy footsteps above me, no messy clothes left in my laundry room. At 11 a.m., the peace was broken. My phone lit up on the table. 1, 2, 5 missed calls from Chloe. On the 6th ring, I answered. In the background, I could hear the unmistakable echoing chaos of the Seattle cruise terminal. Chloe's voice was borderline hysterical. "Mom, there's a glitch in the system. The ticketing agent is saying our reservations don't exist. They said the primary account holder canceled the companion tickets." I took a slow sip of my coffee. It was brewed perfectly. "There is no glitch, Chloe. I canceled them." "What?" Her shriek almost blew out my phone speaker. "The boat boards in 2 hours. Brenda is standing right here. You have to fix this immediately." "I don't have to fix a thing," I said, with the calm demeanor of someone reading a grocery list. "You wanted an exclusive trip for your family. I withdrew my funding. The money for your tickets went back into my account. If you want to get on that ship, you'll need to walk up to the ticket counter and buy them with your own money." The silence on the other end of the line was thick, heavy, and deeply satisfying. 2 hours later, the aggressive rattling of the front gate let me know they were back. Peeking through the living room blinds, I watched the scene unfold. The arrogant, triumphant family that had left that morning was gone. Chloe, Weston, and Brenda trudged in, dragging their sad fabric luggage over the driveway. Every step looked like absolute defeat. Brenda's face was beet red with rage. She had been totally humiliated. Turned away at the terminal in front of hundreds of boarding passengers, I set my chamomile tea on the coffee table, smoothed out my sweater, and walked to the entryway. Weston marched straight up to my door and pounded on the solid wood with a closed fist, rattling the glass panes. "Open the goddamn door! Joanne!" he yelled, completely dropping the polite son-in-law act he used to fake around me. I opened the wooden door but kept the heavy security screen locked tight. I crossed my arms, looking at them from the safety of my sanctuary. Brenda stepped up, teeth clenched, aggressively pulling her coat tight as if it could shield her wounded pride. "This is completely unhinged. You made us the laughingstock of the entire port," she hissed, pointing a trembling finger at me. "We had to beg a cab driver to bring us home because your cards were declining. Nobody forced you to show up at a cruise terminal with tickets you didn't pay for." "Brenda," I replied. My voice was so terrifyingly calm that it seemed to make her even angrier. "I simply recovered my investment." Chloe, realizing her mother-in-law's screaming wasn't working, pivoted to her usual tactic. Her face crumpled, and she started sobbing, black mascara running down her cheeks. "You left us stranded out there in front of everyone," my daughter wailed, gripping the security screen. "You are so selfish. How could you do something so cruel to your own flesh and blood? You deleted me from a trip I spent 3 years saving for with a cowardly text message at 6 in the morning." I reminded her, holding her gaze without raising my voice a single decibel. "You wanted to travel alone, using the money of the exhausting elderly woman. I just gave you the gift of financial independence. You're completely on your own now." Weston, practically shaking with anger, kicked the bottom of the screen door. "You are going to Venmo us the money for those lost tickets and let us into the apartment to rest. Or I swear to God. Or what? Weston, I cut him off, killing the threat in the air. I'm not refunding you a single dime. You can go upstairs and rest today if you want. But I highly suggest you don't get too comfortable and start using your time wisely. All three of them froze, deeply confused by my icy demeanor. What do you mean by that? Chloe asked, her voice suddenly small and fragile. I mean, you need to start checking the grocery store for cardboard moving boxes. Weston muttered a curse and reached to shake the security door in a blind rage, completely forgetting that in our quiet suburban neighborhood, the fences are low and the neighbors are always watching. Mr. Henderson, the retired neighbor across the street, was already leaning over the shared fence line, holding a garden hose and staring a hole right through Weston, feeling the heavy judgment of an audience. Weston dropped his hands and took a step back. Brenda, who couldn't stomach public embarrassment, turned her fury on her son. You promised me everything was paid for, she spat, grabbing her suitcase handle. You made a complete fool out of me. I'm taking an Uber home. Weston, don't call me for a few days. Brenda marched out the gate without another word, leaving Weston aggressively rubbing his face in frustration. Chloe, seeing that intimidation was off the table, went back to the well. She started bawling loud, exaggerated sobs. Dad would never let you treat me like this, she cried, clutching the doorframe. He would never kick me out on the street. He actually loved me. I didn't feel an ounce of pity. I just felt a profound sense of clarity. Your father taught me never to let anyone walk all over me. Chloe, not even my own flesh and blood, I said, looking her dead in the eye. I have given you a free place to live for 3 years. I bought you a luxury vacation. In return, you treated me like a disposable ATM. That arrangement is over. Chloe's expression morphed from sorrow to pure shock. Are you seriously evicting us? She whispered. You have until the end of the month to find a new place. On the 1st of the month, the apartment is being rented out to a paying tenant. Her safety net had completely vanished, and for the first time in her adult life, Chloe was feeling the terrifying vertigo of free fall. I stepped back, shut the heavy wooden door, and threw the new deadbolt. Through the frosted glass, I watched the blurred silhouettes of my daughter and son-in-law standing frozen in the driveway for a long minute before they silently began the long walk up the stairs to their apartment. That night felt different. I made dinner, put on an old vinyl record my husband used to love, and sat on the sofa. I didn't check my phone to see if they needed anything. I didn't cook extra portions just in case they came down looking for leftovers. The crushing weight on my chest, the feeling of being a stranger in my own home that I'd carried for months, was completely gone. Over the next 3 weeks, the tension in the air was thick. Chloe and Weston came and went in absolute silence, hauling empty boxes up the stairs and carrying full ones down. There was no more yelling, no more confrontations. The harsh reality of having to scrape together a first and last month's rent, plus a security deposit somewhere else, kept them far too busy to try and manipulate me again. On the last day of the month, they left the apartment keys on the patio table. Chloe didn't meet my eyes when she walked out the gate with the final box. There were no tearful goodbyes, just the metallic click of the padlock snapping shut behind them. Looking up at the empty apartment for the first time in 3 years, I didn't feel like the underpaid manager of a bad hotel anymore. I felt like the absolute owner of my own life. A month later, the upstairs suite was occupied by a quiet veterinary student who paid her rent on the 1st of the month. On the dot, Chloe and Weston had moved into a cramped, overpriced apartment on the other side of the city. A week ago, Chloe had texted me asking for a quick $300 loan to cover the gas and electric deposit. I left her on red. I never replied. That Tuesday morning, the sun was shining brightly. I was in my bedroom, zipping up the expensive hard-shell suitcase Chloe had tried to claim. I had never actually canceled my cruise reservation. I just moved the dates and added my best friend Diane's name to the booking, using the refunded money from my daughter and son-in-law's canceled tickets. I put on my wide-brimmed sun hat, grabbed my purse, and walked out to the patio. The vet student was coming down the stairs and gave me a warm smile, wishing me a great trip. I walked out the front gate, secured the heavy padlock, and climbed into the airport taxi waiting at the curb. As the car merged onto the highway, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Chloe. "I miss you. Mom, can we talk?" I stared at the screen for a second. I smiled softly. I swiped down on the screen and tapped the airplane mode icon. The outside world immediately went silent. I leaned back against the leather seat and looked out the window, ready to finally go see the glaciers. Sometimes, we grow up believing that family love means always yielding, giving until we are entirely empty. We get used to justifying blatant disrespect in the name of blood, hoping that our endless sacrifices will eventually be valued and rewarded. But the hardest, most liberating lesson life can teach you is that endless generosity doesn't always breed gratitude. A lot of the time, it just creates entitled people who believe they have the right to walk all over you. Setting hard boundaries and locking doors when people hurt you isn't an act of selfishness, nor is it a lack of love. It is a necessary act of emotional survival. We can't force anyone, not even our own children, to value us or treat us with the baseline respect we deserve. But we do have absolute control over what we are willing to tolerate under our own roofs and with our own hard-earned money. At the end of the day, protecting your peace, guarding your space, and defending your dignity doesn't make you the villain of the story. It simply makes you the main character of your own life again.